Okay, well I just pulled in my John Deere 2030 into the barn here. I'm going to do an in-frame rebuild. When I used it last fall, it started overheating and I had oil in the coolant, or actually I had coolant in the oil. So I parked it over the winter. It's March now, the weather's just turning nice. So I just took the front end loader off. That's why there's mud all over the tires. And set the front end loader out there. So next step is to start taking the sheet metal off, drop the oil pan, drop the oil, and see what the problem is. I don't know if it's a blown head gasket or if there's been cavitation in the, this is a wet sleeved John Deere engine. So hopefully, you know, it's just something pretty minor. Hopefully it was just the previous owners not running a fuel or a coolant conditioner in the coolant and caused some pitting or something in the cylinder sleeve. So I'm mainly doing this for my own reference and for just kind of trying to remember how everything goes back together. Okay, I just pulled the oil drain plug for the second time, and that's what it's looking like. And when I took off the oil filter, I missed a little bit, but you can see there's just a ton of water and coolant in with the oil. So alright, continuing on with the John Deere 2030. Kind of let this go off to the wayside for a week or two. I was waiting and a friend of mine came over and we pressurized the cooling system with a pressure tester to try to determine exactly where the leak was, how I was getting water in the oil, and we narrowed it down to the number one cylinder. Took a while because the engine was cold probably, but finally we got some moisture in the number one cylinder. Not much. It didn't even really drip. It was just kind of some moisture. Here's a look under here. There's your timing gears, oil pump, and of course crankshaft. Right now I'm just draining some of the coolant that I had in the block in order to test it. I'm draining that out right now. So try to give you a better look into the guts. It's really clean. It never took any rust or anything like that anywhere on the inside of the block crankcase that I can see. Alright, I've removed the exhaust manifold here and the rocker arm since the last clip here. So all we have left, all I have to do now is disconnect the water temperature gauge, the four lines, fuel supply lines to the four injectors here. I've got to disconnect this water, it's not the intake, I don't think. I guess it circulates back into the radiator. Anyway, I have to get rid of this housing right here where the thermostat is, and I'm going to go ahead and change the thermostat while I have all this apart. So it's going to be getting a new thermostat for sure, even though it's probably good. We're going to look at it real careful. So I'm going to undo these four lines, that unit, this piece here on this side. I just pulled the cylinder head off and I set it down over here on this table. I really haven't even had a chance to inspect it yet. I just set it down and came back to the tractor. You can see all the fire rings here around each cylinder is intact, and the head gasket was definitely not the source of my problem. I don't see anything between the water jacket and the oil galleys. I don't see any breach or failure in the head gasket here, but the injector tips are kind of nasty, but It was using a little bit of oil, so that's to be expected. But there it is. That's going to go to the machine shop. You get all brand new valve springs, valves, guides, seals, everything. Get it planed and pressure tested while I turn my attention to the block here. So this is the cylinder that we saw the moisture coming around the cylinder. I didn't know if this is a wet sleeve engine, as you can see. I didn't know if the previous owner had not run a conditioner in the antifreeze and in the water, the coolant, and maybe caused some cavitation. I didn't know if that was the problem possibly, or if it was something more along the lines of the O-ring failure in the bottom, because should be about 3 O-rings that separate the water jacket from the crankcase. So we won't know until I pull the piston out from the bottom. I'm going to pull the pistons out from the bottom side and tap that sleeve up and see if I can't replace the O-ring, and probably just go ahead and do a full rebuild. But I'm going to clean these cylinder walls up here and take a look at, see how worn they are, and see what level of wear I have on the actual cylinders. There's a little bit of water there, but that fell in out of the water jackets there when I pulled the head. So they don't look super shiny, so I don't think there was water pouring into the cylinders, but we'll just take a look. Alright, I've got the head off. I put plastic all over this because I'm kind of done for the day. I don't want any more crud blowing down in there. But I found the source of my problem. It was in the number 1 cylinder. There's a little scale spot. I don't know if you can see it down there. It's in the shine on the side of the cylinder closest to me. Might not be in focus. But there's a little rust scale spot right there, and I had a little pinhole, cavitation. Other than that, everything else, bearings and everything look pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a complete overhaul, and I'm going to replace everything. Pistons, rings, bearings, sleeves, you name it. Do a in-frame rebuild on it. Everything that consists of a in-frame. So got the head sitting over here on the table here. That's going to go to the machine shop, get it dipped, get it planed, pressure tested, get new valve springs, valves, seals, guides, all that good stuff. And I've got the pistons, got the injectors here. I'm going to take these to the John Deere dealership and have them pop tested. Rocker arm, valve cover. Got that sitting in here. We've got the rod caps. I'm going to set that in there too. I got them all labeled according to cylinder. I'm going to put them in this box so that dust and crud doesn't get on it unnecessarily, and I'm going to seal it up. Got all my head bolts there in order. Push rods. So yeah, sending the head to the machine shop. I'm going to pull out the sleeves, order a rebuild kit. And as soon as my head comes back, I'm going to have to plastic gauge the rod bearings and main bearings and go ahead and replace them while I'm in it. And make sure that I get the correct size on them. So I still have to plastic gauge it, still have to pull the sleeves out, and then we'll wait for the head to come back from the machine shop. And I'll start putting her back together. I've got all my parts here labeled and written on the bags what they are and where they go. And I'm going to replace all of the coolant hoses. They're not in terrible shape, but this one is actually in pretty good shape. This is air intake here. But some of the coolant hoses, I'm going to go ahead and replace them while I've got everything apart. And just go through it and make sure that this provides me with a lot of reliable service in the future, hopefully. So we're going to do it right if we're already this far into it.